It's 3:30 in the morning here in the capital, Tehran. You're watching Press TV's Top 5. Many thanks for joining us this hour. Now, Iraq says it has investigated the Kurdish region's oil revenues and officials who have possibly monopolized the market. Now, in a statement, Iraq's National Security Council said corrupt officials will be exposed and funds will be recovered. It added that the list of Kurdish officials who organized the recent secession vote has been compiled and judicial action has been taken against them. Meanwhile, Iraq's Vice President Ayad Allawi has warned about a civil war in the country over the disputed city of Kirkuk, urging all sides to resolve the row through dialogue. Kurdish forces took control of the oil-rich city during Iraq's battle against Daesh. Following the defeat of the terrorists, the Kurdish region expanded its territorial control over the multi-ethnic city and included it in the secession referendum. Let's speak to Tony Gosling. He's an investigative journalist and he joins us via Skype from Bristol. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Mr. Gosling. Now, first of all, this move by the Iraqi government, yet again another judicial move, so to speak, towards putting more pressure on the government in the semi-autonomous Kurdistan region.
Yeah, I think it's actually fairly transparent action, this, against the Kurds. It's really an attack by Baghdad on this referendum. I mean, I think, it's very, very difficult to know where and when to have these referenda, as we've seen recently in Catalonia. Thankfully, thank God, here in Britain, when we had the referendum for Scottish secession, that was handled in a very, very cool manner and a very peaceful manner. And the Westminster government held their nerve. The trouble is that when there is a bad government in a particular area, of course, people are going to want to secede. I think these various reasons that are being given, I mean, I'm afraid there's corruption in government officials all over the world, not just in Iraqi Kurdistan.
Right, indeed. However, this is obviously coming at a very different time from when you compare, for example, the UK's Scottish referendum. There's this country which has been fighting Daesh. There is that threat of that plan, so to speak, from the West that it always just wanted to divide the country on ethnic and sectarian lines. So do you think that the government in Baghdad is taking the appropriate measures to preserve national unity, but at the same time come down hard on the Kurdish officials?
Well, look, if we go back even further to the Sykes-Picot Agreement, back in the around the time of the First World War, they did exactly plan this. So what they did is they drew the British Empire, drew up, the British Foreign Minister and the French Foreign Minister drew up boundaries which cross right across and into and through ethnic lines. So you might be able to consider this. I'm not saying I do, but some will consider this as an attempt to kind of resettle out the boundaries to what they should have been before the British Empire came along. So there are some positive sides to this, but I do agree with you. And of course, if you go to back to the Armed Forces Journal of the United States Armed Forces Journal in June 2006, you'll see that Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters had a map in there which included free Kurdistan. This is the way that the United States, I think, wanted to reshape the Middle East, and through war and through all sorts of civil chaos to actually start redrawing the boundaries. In fact, even in American popular culture, you can see this kind of idea floating around in 1970s films. One of them is called The 3 Days of the Condor with Robert Redford. It was directed by Sidney Pollack, one of the greatest film directors of all time, in which the protagonists are saying, well, and Robert Redford actually says, do you plan to invade the Middle East? I think this has been, this plan has been running for a long, long time. And the first Gulf War in 1990 was one of the first ingredients in it. The illegal invasion of Iraq was another one. But I think at the end of the day, people in the Middle East need to see for themselves where are the most sensible boundaries to be and not have them imposed from outside. Hopefully that can be done without fighting and through referenda. And maybe that sort of referendum in Kurdistan is part of that process. I think the Iraqis, the Iraqi government in Baghdad needs to understand that just because there's a plan for a free Kurdistan from America, it doesn't mean to say that it's not a just concept, a just idea for the people on the ground themselves. And it might be better for everyone to have people in their own ethnic groups, in their own cultural groups, rather than these artificial countries which were created by the British Empire.
All right, let's leave it there for now. That's Tony Galsing, investigative journalist, joining us via Skype from Bristol. Mr. Galsing, thank you very much indeed, as always, for your comments here on Press TV.